We are looking at prayers that are recorded by biblical characters, and Moses is famous for his prayers for God's presence as well as God's direction for his nation of Israel. Good morning, I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Tuesday. As the leader of God's chosen people, Moses always sought God's direction. Of course, some leaders today get the big head and they believe they can lead their people on their own without needing God to help them at all. God had actually warned Moses in Exodus 33 that he would not go up into the promised land with these Hebrews because they were a stiff-necked people who had rejected him. He actually said, I will not go up in your midst, lest I consume you for your rebellion. So Moses made that high priestly prayer for God to forgive and to lead his people. He said in Exodus chapter 33 and verse 15, if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here. For how then will it be known that your people and I have found grace in your sight, except you go with us? So we shall be separate, your people and I, from all the people who are upon the face of the earth. Essentially, Moses was saying, if God's not going up, I'm not going without him. Have we ever expressed that statement of faith and that necessity for God's presence? You see, part of Moses' concern is for the testimony of God among the nations around them. He says, how will it be known that your people have found grace in your sight? Moses knew that the nation of Israel had been set aside as God's chosen people. He also recognized that the most important thing about them being God's people was not just for them to be a blessed nation, but for them to be an example and to show who God was. The world watches God's people to see how they will act or how they'll react to certain circumstances in their lives. They also note, by the way, how God protects his people, how he directs their every step, how he separates them from the world around them to be a true following group of God. So Moses' prayer is to beg God to continue with his people on this journey, on to the land he had promised them as a witness to the world of who he was. And although he had led them through the Red Sea out of Egypt and across the wilderness, had given them provision with manna and even with water sometimes coming from a rock, Moses realizes how necessary it is to have the very presence and power of God on our lives daily to face the difficulties that lie ahead of us. I wonder if we could pray that prayer with our hearts today. God, I really want to be separated from this world. And I really want to be made a witness of how God deals with his people so I can show the world who my God really is. That's what David did in his testimony against Goliath. I'm going to make sure the world knows there is a God in Israel. But Lord, if you're not leading my life, I don't want to go forward blindly. Is that our prayer today? It was Moses' prayer, and I think we could learn a lot from it.